Hi, welcome to the live video premiere. Welcome if you're currently here, appreciate it. Today, going to be talking about some other topics in between, as well as discussing here and there about Dylan rounds, continuing on from last night's video. Managed to reach an all-time high in view count, live viewers. I think the highest was 126 people watching last night, which is really good. Another personal best. So shout out to all the people that were watching, and especially the people that remained watching all the way through to listen, because almost all the way through the entire video, it was over 100 people watching. And that's good because it means people were present to take it all in, listen about the latest information, analysis, and maybe get a better understanding of the Dylan Rounds case. That's all good. As well, shout out to Cut and Shoot, ZX0, Badger Life for her super chat, Dale, Watcher of Crazy 2 for their gifted memberships as well. It's very good of them, especially Cut and Shoot and ZX0. There's so much happening on the screen, so that's really good. That I think the most funniest moment, to be honest, and no one will really know this, is because of all what was going on in the chat. I think you had a few cat fights going on. Catnip needed to be brought in to cool things off. But in the midst of all that, on top of the memberships and this and that appearing on screen, I think YouTube couldn't handle it because it ended up kicking me off the video. Yeah, that's what I mean. It's all about the matrix, being able to get inside of it, but inside upside down, like really confusing, okay? So Bob Farrell, damn it, I keep doing that. I keep making that mistake. Bob Farrell, Weezer, Cleo, and anyone else in between feeling, why did you get kicked off the live video premiere or something? Technically, the same happened to me, and it was my own video. It's so funny that all I had to do was refresh the tab or close the tab and open a new tab and then load it back up, and it was all fine from there on. But it was funny, okay, it was funny. But yeah, it's really good of Cut and Shoot, ZX0, Dale as well. Watcher Crazy and Badger for their presence last night. Really good of them as well. Work around the custom emojis. I'll look into that tomorrow because I've got a few ideas now. If people do change their minds or have additional ideas, feel free to leave a comment on my community page section, the last members post. Okay, you can list it down there. There's about 4 slots, okay? I think for the next slot emoji to be unlocked, it needs to be about 14 to 15 new members. What happens with YouTube is they seem to get more strict as the members go up. So in the early days, you might be given 4 free slots, and then after that, you got to have a certain requirement of people to join the channel for the next emoji slot to be unlocked. And as time goes on, the requirement goes up as well. But it's all fine. And the other thing I picked up on, which is a positive in a way, is down the line, if people don't rejoin as a member and it just simply expires the membership, the emojis and the slots that were previously unlocked remain in place. So I'm not losing anything in that area, which is all good. So custom emojis and emojis to acknowledge someone remain regardless. So that's great. And as well, from what I've seen as well, when people have become members on my channel and then it's expired and they haven't renewed it in time, fast forward onwards, once they rejoined as a member, all their progress was saved. So the unique exclusive badge next to one's username forever how long you've been a member for, depending on the months, that badge will be reappearing next to the name, so you don't have to start all over again. That's from what I've seen, at least, when people have rejoined, but at a later date. Good example would be Not For You. Not For You was gifted a membership in the past and was around for a certain length of time, and then membership expired. Fast forward a month or so onwards, gifted another membership last night because of cut and shoot, good of her, and the yellow skull badge remained or was brought back. So nothing is lost. That's good to know when it comes to membership, right? Just wanted to add that in for a little bit of context. And for whatever reason, if you want to, and only if you want to, I'll provide a link to the whole join membership thing, which I'll provide in a link. In the past, some people said they weren't able to join, or it was a little bit difficult, but it's all under control because I now have an actual link. I can post it in the chat, and I think that makes it a little bit easier for people, okay? Anyway, that aside, today, discussion based, talking about Dylan rounds. I'll give you my thoughts on that. It's probably appropriate and best to start off with that first, right? And then we can go into the Salty Pancakes stuff. You might be wondering, do we need to? Is it necessary? Well, I can explain. Number one, what we're looking at today is public, within the public eye, so we can all view it publicly. So there's no issues there. It is to do with like search and rescue, looking for missing people. So it's still relevant to the topic, theme and subject we've been looking at. And of course, Pancakes has been looking into Dylan rounds in the past, and maybe more recently Aidan Clune. So we get an idea, a context of what's currently going on with Pancakes. I want to share it with you as well because it's a good time. Whilst there's been moments where it's been focused with Jim Terry, right? Maybe not positive, but focused on Jim Terry. Or maybe at another point focused on Lance Kelly. And whilst that's all fine, balance still is necessary. So to put them aside, we look at Pancakes, okay? Question each one, analyse each person and their behaviour and what's going on at a moment in time regarding a specific event. And as we do go along in this video, you can compare and contrast yourself in the live chat, the box on the right hand side of the screen. Make sure to share your thoughts, opinions and reactions as we do talk through in the video today. And you can talk about a range of other things as well. I feel that maybe with the cat fights, there was a level of disruption last night, but I think there was still a level of focus when it was needed. So I appreciate that. I believe Pancakes did apologise at one point, but don't worry, Pancakes. The items next to me approve of your apology. It's perfectly fine, okay? You wonder what those items are. This. Smooth, fresh, and shiny. Slightly cold, it might need warming up. And this one too, slightly more worn, but has a lot of experience. Maybe Campos Taco will take a trip to Whip Town someday. Let me know though, okay? Now, there was another individual, Arkansas. I don't know if Arkansas is present right now, but if someone knows of Arkansas, just pass a little prompt on to say that I sent them an email because they supposedly wanted my email, okay? I thought it was a bit too messy to do it in the public chat because the amount of people that were present watching, it could have got lost in the sea of comments and everything. You get what I'm saying? So I thought, do it a different way around so it's a bit more efficient and effective. So we'll see what happens there. But yeah, it was good the amount of people that were present last night. It goes to show that the Dylan Rounds case is still somewhat active. Maybe I have revived it on the YouTube side at least. And of course, you've had a few other channels coming on back, giving their thoughts or showing off their material, what they supposedly have. Kind of like with Jim Terry and that police dashcam footage of Dylan and his friends pulling on over. I heard some talk recently about Jim Terry supposedly selling that footage to Bob Farrell for about $1,800, or was attempting to sell it for that price. I don't know if that's 100% the truth. I'm just highlighting it. If there's anyone in the chat that can confirm, reconfirm that statement, that rumor, then feel free. Just wanted to chuck it out there just as a loose bit of talk, and that is all, okay? What do I feel about it? I mean, the pricing of it, bit far-fetched, but could be yet another strategy, just like other methods and stuff. In the eyes of them, if it works, then why should they change it, right? I get that, but the way I see it, okay, and this is where we can tie it in with Dylan Rounds. With the Dylan Rounds case, just like the Kenny Veach case, if I acquire material or some form of information and it's, you know, appropriate to show publicly, that's exactly what I'm going to do. Okay, simple as that. When it came to the Kenny Veach case, I acquired important, very important CCTV footage of which looked to be Kenny Veach in 2018 breaking into a Veach family-run healing store in Las Vegas. I showed that public. I reposted, reshared it public, right? Simple as. When it came to some very important text conversations between certain family members within the Kenny Veach case, which was approved by a Veach family member in the first place, I presented that to the general public. And the same applies with Dylan Rounds. With whatever I hear of or retrieve, find, it'll be public, providing it's appropriate, okay? But you know what the consistent thing is within all of that? Guess right now in the chat. Give you a few seconds. The consistency is none of those videos are locked behind a paywall. It's all public, it's all viewable, simple as. Within the Dylan Rounds case, over time, different people, channels have locked stuff behind a paywall. What does that do? Well, it creates a divide. Sure, it could be effective strategy in enticing people to want to know the supposed truth, hearing about the stuff, and also benefiting as a channel yourself because you're receiving some form of money or some other kind of gain in the matter. Though for everyone else that may not want to or can't get a hold of that info because it's locked behind a paywall, they're missing out. And to be honest, most of the time, at a certain point within a case, information is released public, right? Even like sometimes court documents, official important stuff, but still revealed public. Sometimes photos, crime scene stuff can be revealed, but it's not locked behind a paywall. So with this alternative style, it's not always good. It might be good for them, but not good for the general public in a way. Of course, it's a strategy and it could be successful at times for those who have set it up in that way, but I just don't think it's the right way to go, especially long term, right? It's like you're alienating people. Yeah, that's why I won't do it. Of course, there'll be times where there might be a members only video or some kind of subscriber only video, whatever that is, if that does exist. But that'll be like about other stuff, or, you know, you understand that. Basically, we just keep consistent and the flow going like how we've done recently and in the past. No need to change there. And still focus on Dylan Rounds because there are still things to talk about, right? Especially the last few days, all this, I guess, breaking news information, which, you know, 1 year on, would you be expecting to hear right now? about the likes of a baseball cap being found, potential evidence, about Candice Cooley saying that they've been recently searching and over time that there's been some areas of high interest and suspicion, yet never mentioned back then. And yet it's a 1 year on. It does make you think. Anyway, I think we can continue that conversation very shortly. Appreciate it if you're patient at this moment in time. What we do need to acknowledge, of course, like usual, is the comments section. So from the previous video, just check the comments out. There's not too many. Reply to any questions, point out any key bits of information of interest, and then we can go from there. That will allow people to join on into this live premiere and catch up, okay? So let's head on over there right now. Here we are, arrange it to the newest comments. And also take in mind, what I do want to do is refer back to another comment by a person commenting just recent on a video I did 2 weeks ago. More about that later on in this video, but be sure to stick around for it because they have made some, I guess, arguably serious assumptions about me, WarLike Wrath. Okay, more about that later. Make sure to stick about. So to begin with, we've got Bob Farrell saying, I am locked out of chat again. I am locked out of chat. Switch to live chat. Now, if there's anyone in the chat right now that has overcome the issue of being locked out, feel free to share your experiences on how you managed to fix the problem, and maybe leave a reply to someone like Bob Farrell, because he seems to be having quite a few issues when it comes to the chat, right? And still, I'm trying to understand, what do you mean by locked out of chat? What, you're not able to type anything? Is the screen blank? Has the video paused, frozen? Has the chat frozen? Let me know everything down below in the comment section as for the specific problems and how it visually appears and performs, right? Just so I get a better idea of what's going on. Linda, the other one, saying, I think what somebody does to someone, the same thing should be done to them. Maybe it would stop people from doing bad things to people. Yeah, well, at times that can work. Though, when it comes to making someone suffer because they've done something bad, another form of action may be needed, necessary. Now, I personally don't know if Brenner would be afraid of being killed. Like, if Brenner did receive the death penalty, which he didn't, but if he did, how would he react? Would he be scared? Would it faze him? Or would he be emotionless? You get what I'm saying? The one factor which has played a role, which highlights an option of how to make Brenner suffer, is being surrounded by several people. Okay, Linda? And that can be backed up from the early days and mid-range days of when Candice Cooley, just in rounds as well, when doing the interviews, they referred to how in the early days of the search, when around the Grainshed property, the family, the police, search and rescue, they were told by Brenner to leave the area, to move on elsewhere. Police, or at least the search and rescue, went down to Dylan Round's farm. The reason why those groups of people moved away is because supposedly Brenner was getting frustrated, aggravated, annoyed. He didn't like being surrounded by many people, right? That's what triggers him, or at least one of the factors which makes him uncomfortable, and possibly long-term exposure to that, a form of suffering. Okay? It does possibly explain to why Brenner was first in Montello. I know it dates back way back then, but at least from what I know of, being in Montello, the outer skirts, in a trailer, kind of in the middle of nowhere. Then fast forward to staying, living, or some say squatting in Lucin near the Grainshed property, which the population is significantly lower compared to Montello, Nevada, the town, right across the border. So we're taking that into mind. It seems like Brenner prefers living in an environment which is pretty quiet, if not desolate, away from it all, away from most people. We've also heard stories in the past when people have approached Brenner or maybe stepped onto his land or some kind of property. He's fired shots, either at them or warning shots, okay? When you take that all into mind, right, well, Brenner, at this moment in time, Weber County Jail, locked up in some way or another. Is he around the general population of inmates? I don't personally know. But down the line, when Brenner is convicted and sent down, the best place for Brenner to be and the most effective way of making Brenner suffer is putting him in the general population of other inmates who have been, sent to prison. Kind of like that. Not solitary confinement. Candice Cooley even acknowledged not too long ago, saying Brenner would actually prefer that. He would enjoy it. So you got to take those forms of enjoyment away. I guess one would be the alcohol. Brenner no longer able to have that. Did it lead to withdrawal effects? Most likely. Has it harmed his health overall? That seems to be yes and no. Some people think so, others don't, right? He has appeared to have lost weight too. That's probably just down to diet. And of course, alcohol being taken away. To him, alcohol could now be considered a luxury, something that you really wish you could get a hold of, especially if you're locked up away from it. So that's a form of a punishment and suffering in a way. But to add on being around several people, in like small environment, that will definitely annoy Brenner. It'll probably set him off. It'll probably anger him, probably get into fights as well with other inmates, and it all kicks off. So that would probably be the most effective way of Brenner suffering for the bad stuff he's done. And as well, because he doesn't have the alcohol, when he's in an environment like that, he can't just suddenly think, right, I'll go to the bottle and make myself drunk to forget about everything. He can't even have that. So he'll be constantly alert and aware of what's happening around him, and he won't like that. So that's what I think at the end of the day, Linda. Let me know if you agree or disagree. As for the poll, let's just do a poll right now. Take in mind, I wasn't able to do the last poll last night because, you can't type everything into the poll tabs, the sections, the voting ones. You only can type so many characters in, so I couldn't fit it in, okay? Anyway, the poll right now, new one, can be, what do you think is the most effective way of making Brenner suffer, pay the price, right? Is it death penalty? Is it being locked up in like the general population of prisoners, whatever you call it? Or another reason? List that down below and explain, okay? What else do we have? KB saying, don't argue with WarLike Wrath terminology. If there is a doggy word, I think he means if there is a dodgy word, he says so. If he's sure, you better believe it. Stop disputing. Listen to WarLike Wrath. Sentences, syntax and vocabulary. Complainers have no clue. So I guess that's one way to sum it up, I guess. I think KB has been around for quite a bit. Correct me if I'm wrong, I'm sure I've seen that username in the past. I don't know if they were around during the Kenny Veach days, like a year or two ago, but shout out to KB for their presence, of course. WarLike Wrath terminology, keyword dodgy, another word wonky, and one of the lines which was in the past which people remembered was, you know what I mean? Or you get me, something like that. I'm sure Tasha T will have her own gang sign language and whatever goes on in the alleyways. She'll probably have code words for every kind of item and description. You can share that if you want, Tasha, in your own time. But yeah, let's move on. Skeptical by nature saying, do you have notes as to when June 2nd was first announced by Candice Cooley or others? I found your video about it on October 13th, 2022, I assume. So it could well be around that point when I talked about it. At least from when it was mentioned by others, I would say it was first mentioned by Candice Cooley. I would strongly say that, considering she's the one to do all the talking. And I feel that it was most likely mentioned, talked about on the East Idaho News channel in the very early days during the news interviews with Candice Cooley. So I do think it's early on and on East Idaho News Skeptical. Okay, hopefully that should help. And I'd say the spring cleaning, June the 2nd, may be, and possibly the only event which has been consistent all the way through. It hasn't really switched or changed, has it? Compared to other events like the gun and key fob and other things. Maybe the only criticism you could say is at one point it was described 4 bags, and then another time it was described as 6 to 12 bags. So a slight change there, but for most part of it though, the event of Brenner going down there, going in, moving the grain truck, it was all, in a way, it was documented by Heavy D when he did the flyby over of the area. You saw the grain truck left out, didn't get reversed back in. So yeah, I'd say that's consistent there. Christy B. Are canines searching for Dylan's scent in particular or for human remains in general? Have the canines ever been in the grain shed? I believe there have been, but the forensic side, getting in authority and people to do some DNA testing, I don't know if that was as successful. Candice Cooley said there was no forensics done. Tom Evans saying, according to Candice, the dogs have been in the grain shed a couple of times and always hit the same place. Okay. Cleo, here we go. Have to get myself ready for this interview. Trying to stay cool, stay hydrated, and get blessings, Cleo. What does Sonny say? Hey, I say phone, dater. Dadder. That's what the Americans say, don't they? It's like how Bob Farrell says, I got some yogurt. Got some yogurt from the grocery store. I had to collect some dadder along the way, crossing the elevator and coming across Watcher Crazy, who's a dadder analyst. Wow. I think I need to wrap my head with some aluminum foil and see where I am from there. Oh my God, my face is blushing like a red tomato. Oh my God, am I transitioning into a real American? Oh my God, it's so heartwarming, heartfelt. Yeah, shout out to all the Valley girls. Now, as for anyone joining right now or still watching, if you are confused, that's okay. If you are worried, don't worry. WarLike Wrath can give counselling. It's all under control. As you know, gotta be on good behaviour because of YouTube and the uncertainty of it, as I said. But Sonny says, I say phone dadder, lol, and I do agree, he probably was buried, then moved, and waste of evidence. Disgraceful, and damn Dylan flattening the gate. Jesus, lol, get it. Don's last straw. But yeah, suffer for long in jail now, and damn, the Coolies are being selfless for that. I don't know what I'd do. Okay, so all over the place there, but I get what you're saying. So yeah, there's been key opportunities of getting very important evidence, right? Key forensics, but it was never taken up on, so it was lost with time. Yeah, we heard about it in the past with other things, but some of this I've never heard before. So it's like, God, on top of everything else, no wonder why the case has dragged on this long, right? Because it just feels to me that all the critical evidence which could lead into a specific direction, was a failure to get hold of. All the other evidence, which is still important, doesn't lead to directly finding Dylan, but leads to incriminating a certain individual like Brenner, was successful. But it's only 50%, successful overall. That's what I would say. Yeah. Sonny, you think Kurt Wadsworth was involved? Do you think the hostage story was real? I personally would say the hostage story was false. BS. It was a false call because the police went down there, the family did, they found nothing at all. No hostage situation, Dylan not there, none of it. Could have been opportunistic behaviour though by Kurt Wadsworth to get that $20,000 reward money, which wasn't long after, because before, Justin went down there to, I guess, put posters and talk about the $20,000 reward money. Kurt may have saw it and thought, oh, this is a good time. And if not that, some people could interpret it as a decoy theory to get the police and family down to Montello. So then it opens up the chance for Brenna, Don to do whatever around the Grainshed property. Though Not For You last night said that there was still people present around the Grainshed property. So maybe it wasn't as quiet as one thinks. But if anyone needs to counter it, feel free to do so. As for this decoy theory or idea, it didn't really lead to too much because it was the following day when action started taking place, gun key fob, June 2nd spring cleaning. So it leaves a blank space on June 31st as to what Don, Brenna were doing, right? I'm sure with time we might get an answer, but we need to be consistent. We need to create noise on that stuff and be consistent, and eventually maybe an answer will come out. Overall, do I think Kurt Wadsworth was involved in Dylan's disappearance? What I would say at this moment in time, my focus would be aimed more towards Don Hately, partially because Don Hately passed and was successful on the lie detector test, but Don Hately did lie straight to the LE's face in the beginning when they were questioning Don of where could Dylan be, and Don saying, oh, possibly up on Pilot Peak, 2 to 4 hours hiking up there. Did the police find anything? No. From what Candice Cooley said, who I guess was present, police came back and pinned Don up against the wall and had a go at him. So they weren't too happy. So why did Don do that? Give a false direction? Was it to allow someone else like Brenna to clean up on his act, get the story straight in between? You never know, right? There's a little bit of inconsistency there with Don. As well, Don moving away, some people interpret that as a bit dodgy. As well, Justin Rounds calling out Don Hately on 2 separate occasions, back then 2022 and most recently. Quite a bit of an outburst as well, something going on there. As for Kurt Wadsworth though, linking back to him, it has kind of gone quiet with time. Sure, Salty Pancakes might have interviewed him here and there, then called him out and labelled him everything, and then had another interview with him, kissed, made up, hugged each other behind the grain shed type thing, and then stabbed someone in the back and then make up again. Weird, complex scenario that, but whatever's going on is going on. The only thing I would personally say, just from my opinion, that makes Kurt Wadsworth a little bit dodgy was avoiding that lie detector test, right? That's what I would say. Why avoid something? Okay? That's all I'm saying. Of course, people in the chat right now, feel free to open up and share your opinion. Do you think Kurt Wadsworth is tied up in the Dylan Rounds case? And if so, make sure to explain in the chat or make sure to explain in the comment section, okay? Tom Evans, on a roll. Shout out to Tom Evans. Now, although I've not been present all the time and like on different channels, Tom is. So he does have like the stamina and capacity to take other information in besides mine. The good thing is with Tom Evans is, although he is consistent and shows up to my videos and leaves his thoughts and opinions, which is helpful, he doesn't just stick to me. The good thing with Tom Evans is he's not robotic like some other people are. And what I mean by that is like other channels, other people out there where the robots, they nod the head and only look up to one person and listen to one person. Whereas Tom Evans, and it can apply to some other people around as well who are consistent watching my videos, they do go on to other channels and take the information in from there. And by doing that, they've got like a wider range of knowledge of the case and how things could have possibly gone, then they can compare and contrast with my videos to whatever videos they're watching out there. So it's not robotic, right? So that's what's good. Tom Evans isn't a robot, and that's a good thing, positive. I guess it applies to Indiana as well, because Indiana has got about quite a bit. I don't mean that in a dodgy way. Well, if you want to elaborate, feel free. But what I mean is Indiana has been on other channels too. And, I'm sure it'll apply to others as well. Recently, Tom Evans, I guess, in a way, defending me. So that's obviously very good of him to do that, especially on top of being busy with other things going on in the background and whatever else. So that is good of Tom. And, for most part of it, Tom is able to explain stuff fairly, easily. And sure, there might be times where the odd mistake is made or the odd little bit of inaccuracy. But, I guess that's what can come with taking in a lot of information in a short space of time from different channels. There's positives behind it, of course, but there might be the odd limitation, though it's not the end of the world. And for most of the time, it is under control. So shout out to Tom Evans. Okay. What else do we have? Doom No appears to be a new viewer showing up on my channel. Of course, there's been quite a few new viewers in recent times, so welcome to everyone who is currently watching and everyone in the background, as well as all the new people that have just suddenly come on in. Okay. If for whatever reason you are interested in other cases and mysteries, I do have playlists on my channel if you check them out on my page. Okay. So Doom says, get good DNA from Cap, smoking gun, give the family Asker justice for Dylan Rounds family members, rest in peace Dylan Rounds, rest in peace, send prayer for the family, hope prayerfully to bring your son home, take care and stay safe and your family. Okay, so showing support to Dylan and family, fair enough. Patriot Zero saying, what happened to Kenny Veach? Always come to your channel to check on his story. Now, as for Kenny Veach, somewhat under control. Past month or two, I have done a few videos on Kenny Veach and more so the M Cave, some important videos. Also, in a way, resharing from Jeff Claw's discovery, solving the missing rock near the covered up M Cave as well back in 2022, covering that very important phone call made by Kenny Veach's Facebook account to the sister-in-law Susan Veach. If you haven't seen that Patriot, make sure to check those videos out. There is still stuff here and there. And as I said, if there is breaking news, even if I am locked onto Dylan Rounds, which I am, if there is breaking news with Kenny Veach, then a video will come. Okay? Simple as. We got Apple once again saying Candice. Is that how Australians say it? Got Candice coli. Is that how you say it? Candice coli. We've got Dale. Dale sounds good in an Australian accent. Right on, Dale. I've got to make sure that I don't say any bad words, okay, in case I get told off. We've got Campos Taco. Needs taco filling right now. Okay, so it looks like my voice is still calibrated to be able to do these different accents despite this time of absence. Okay. Nothing is nothing saying, my understanding is that Candice Cooley and Justin Rounds turned down Brenner speaking to eliminate the option of him receiving a lesser sentence, making a plea deal, or avoiding the death penalty. That would make sense to me. Okay, my understanding. Okay, to eliminate lesser sentence, because if that did happen, he could be released and could hurt other people. I get that. Right, avoiding death penalty. Okay. We've got Weezer. Okay, I think I didn't mention it before, but shout out to Weezer as well for her gifted membership as well from last night. She says here, One thing I found interesting was when Candice Cooley said that Don Haley and Jim Brenner were going to the barbecue, some ribs, and watch Yellowstone. I like the series Yellowstone, but find it ironic that they would be watching it. Not sure if you have heard of it, Raf, but it is a TV series. It's about ranchers in Montana, and anyone who gives them issues are eliminated and hauled to the train station. The train station is dumping them over a cliff where the bodies are never found. Did anyone else catch that? Wow. What are the replies? Brad, good observation. I wonder if it was Don who was with Brenner when Chase got bashed. If that's true, of course. Brad, what are you talking about? Chase got bashed. Are you talking about the time when Chase Venstra got roughed up by ranchers? Let me know, Brad. If you are referring to that event that occurred on the 25th of May, 2022, and I'll just briefly summarise it. Chase Venstra was stalking some rancher's wife. The husband catched it and warned him off. And the same day, Chase went back to stalking the person, and the husband got in his group of ranchers, all gathered, got a hold of Chase Venstra near Wine Cup Road, and took him 1 mile south of the road and roughed him up, teached him some kind of lesson, right? That's why he was a bit bloodied and bruised, okay? As well, they were threatening to call the police on Chase as well. Chase Venstra fled the area and supposedly was hiding in bushes near Tacoma Road, near the railroad tracks, from the looks of it. And that's when Dylan Rounds, present in the area, driving down Tacoma Road, suddenly caught and came across Chase Venstra, okay? So hopefully that answers that, Brad. If there is another time, another occasion where Chase got roughed up, let me know down below, okay? But yeah, this comment by Weezer that Jim and Don were into watching Yellowstone. Now, I personally have never heard of that TV series. Anyone in the chat right now, let me know if you've heard of the TV series Yellowstone, and, you know, do you like it or not? As well, more so with this, do you think it's kind of ironic too that Jim and Don, at least one of them, Jim being, you know, charged with Dylan's death and desecration, was before that, well, no, on the same day actually, was watching a TV series to do with eliminating humans and dumping them over a cliff. It makes you think, right? And, you know, how many times have they been watching that TV series? You know, have they been watching it in the past? Were they influenced by the show? Is that what made them think, that's how we can get rid of Dylan Rounds? It does make you think. And as well, especially on the day, the 28th, later on into the day when Dylan's already been killed, right? When they were watching that Yellowstone show, did Brenner ever crack a joke laughing to Don about what they're watching and, you know, it being on the same day when Brenner killed Dylan Rounds? It's a bit creepy, a bit weird, and yeah, makes you think, is there any other kind of links going on? And what I'm talking about, is there any factors besides the snap mentality which might have influenced Brenner? Or more so, what about the factors which could have influenced Brenner when it comes to disposing of someone, right? It was described in the past by, I guess, Montello locals who heard Brenner talking, saying, if I ever take someone out, if I'm going to dispose of them, it would be, was it in a wash? I think that's what he described. I'd put them in a wash. So, you know, it makes you think, oh, well, is that like a hint, a clue as to what led to Brenner disposing of Dylan? Could be. But then what about that Yellowstone TV series? Could Dylan have been chucked off a cliff? I don't know. To be honest, if you're chucked off a cliff and then you land on the lower ground, you'd still be exposed, right? So if you got flybys, you got helicopters, drones within the area, they should easily see it. And I don't know exactly when, but they did come to that conclusion, more so the family, that Dylan is most likely buried somewhere. If he wasn't buried, he probably would have been found by now. I mean, there's always that bit into play about possibilities of Dylan could be dumped in a mine shaft, not buried, but concealed underground still, because the mine shaft does go underground. There is still that. Though, really, there's not been, and correct me if I'm wrong, there's just not been any evidence whatsoever of Dylan's remains, DNA from Dylan, clothing, items, possessions of Dylan inside of mine shafts. None of that has been found. So it does make it less believable as time goes on. Unless someone, Scott Natal, anyone else in between, comes across an interesting item to suggest that maybe Dylan could be in an area like this. You get what I'm saying? But at this moment, not enough evidence, if not any at all, to suggest that type of environment. What about the wash, though? Has there been any true evidence to prove that Dylan Rounds is in a wash? All I would say is the track marks in the wash of supposedly of Dylan's truck, or similar to Dylan's truck, that was like one possibility of evidence to say, well, Dylan's truck drove through here, so maybe that's the route that was taken to dispose of Dylan, maybe. And then the only other one would be the conversations in the past about Brenner talking to random general public about, if I'm going to take someone out, it'll be disposed of in a wash. That's really it. Because the important evidence that has been found, the phone, that was in the pond. Okay, that's still important. Though the pond was searched, double-checked, Dylan was not in there. As for the boots near the dirt mound, that was supposedly checked a couple of times. Dylan wasn't in that dirt mound, right? Grain shed, Dylan not in there. Where else is the evidence? The phone in Brenner's trailer, of Dylan's phone, forensics of that, the phone pings, as well as just simply the location and what the video was about. It wasn't about disposing of Dylan, it was like after it. Well, maybe not after disposing, but after the murder of Dylan, kind of like in between. There's not been any footage captured of Brenner disposing of Dylan. So, is what I mean. The evidence, what we have found or seen, hasn't really pointed in a particular direction, which is unfortunate. Unless you applied the tracks in the wash. But that seems to be discredited as time goes on. Anyway, is this final comment? Okay, final comment by Brad, saying, love your work, WarLike Wrath. Chase gets beaten up by Brenner and an accomplice. Oh yeah, okay, I understand now, I understand. So, yeah, what Brad is referring to is that recent video I covered, passed on from that Montello local, of what they heard when it came to, was it a Zoom call meeting, or they were like watching it live on the computer, of the latest court hearing of Chase Venstra. Not to do with Dylan Rounds, separate charges, crime. To be like, the gun charges, unrelated to the Dylan Rounds case. Though the crossover was, during that court hearing, Chase Venstra brought Brenner's name, Jim Brenner's name, into the mix of things, accusing Brenner and another guy, name wasn't given, as the ones responsible for beating up Chase Venstra, and then taking his firearms off him, and then returning him back to his truck later, for whatever reason. So, yeah, I understand now, Brad. Chase Venstra beaten up on 2 separate occasions. Does make you think that crossover unrelated to Dylan Brown's case, yet Chase Venstra still mentions Brenner's name, but also vice versa. Brenner mentioning Chase Venstra's name to Justin Rounds as being involved in Dylan's case. Can you say they're as bad as each other in a way? Kinda. Trying to drag each other down in their own separate cases and charges. Yeah. Anyway, let's continue what Brad says. Brad says, was this when Dylan was driving his car and saw Chase on foot bloodied up? No. Hopefully, Brad, what I mentioned earlier on about that Chase Venstra being roughed up, that was 25th of May. That was the one where Dylan came across him. This one, what you mentioned here about Chase gets beaten up by Brenner, an accomplice, that's more recent. Well, arguably more recent. And it's to do with away from the Dylan Rounds case. Right? Okay. Was there anything else here? Could Chase have told Dylan what happened then Dylan approached Brenner about it? Probably not. Not because it didn't link there. I'd be wanting to question Chase about the name of the other person with Brenner, and did Chase tell Dylan about it or no, if Dylan had approached Brenner about it? Probably not. But the question about wanting to know who that accomplice was of Brenner at the time when beating up Chase Venstra away from the Dylan Rounds case. Yeah, that is interesting. Okay. Now, to be fair, this event where Chase Venstra got roughed up, beaten up by Brenner and an accomplice, when did it really happen? Was it before the 25th of May or after? If it was after, it would have been only up to a certain point, because by then, eventually Brenner was taken away. Yeah. So it could have been before the 25th. Either way, two separate events. Is that it for the comments? Okay, so we've reached the end of the comments. It's now time to move on. So one thing I do also want to bring up, of course, feel free to say if certain events need re-highlighting in future videos or smaller dedicated focused ones about things we've heard of in recent time. List it in the comments section. But one thing I want to bring up right now, because it's recent, what we heard of yesterday or the day before, whenever that interview took place, East Idaho News, where Candice Cooley was referring to a certain spot, a certain suspicious spot, and I believe not to do with the grain shed, away from that, because in the sentence or length, she said there was a particular spot of interest. Dogs over time all reacted the same way around it. And as well, the grain shed area too, which wasn't forensically tested either. Two separate areas, right? So my question is, where is that other area where all the dogs were reacting a certain way, as if that was Dylan's first burial site? Where is it? If you want to guess, feel free to do so. I don't know personally. I wouldn't be surprised if it wasn't too far away from the grain shed property, because if it was a temporary burial, you're going to do it close, right? Just for the short term, and then think of something a bit more clever later. That's if you are clever. Though, for the wrong reasons, technically Brenner has been successful, with or without help, because Dylan hasn't been found yet. So even though it's not good, you do have to acknowledge that, right? So yeah, and as well, what I do want to highlight, the way Candice Cooley worded it all. Oh yeah, there was dogs over time in a certain area and spot reacting a certain way. We feel that could be the spot where Dylan was temporarily buried. There was some stuff in the grain shed as well, but none of it was forensically tested. None of the data collected. It went to waste. The way she worded that was, it's happened over months. She said dog groups over months have reacted the same way. So how many months? Are we talking about 2022, going that far back? Or are we just talking about the year 2023, through the months of 2023? Can anyone make sense of it? Because if it dates back to 2022, then why was it never mentioned? If this has happened for some time now, why has it only been mentioned now? You could say, oh, well, it's very sensitive. You know, we don't want to harm that location. We don't want to reveal it or give it away because it could harm the case. How can it harm the case if there was no forensic testing and it's gone to waste and it's not collectible, retrievable anymore? What more can happen? Not much. Can this potential evidence area be ruined, contaminated? No, because whatever remnants were there have been lost with time, unretrievable. So no more harm can be done to that one spot. So why is the location still kept a secret? I can understand the wash, how Candice Cooley doesn't talk too much about it in terms of locations and coordinates, because I guess it's ongoing, right? But areas checked off the list. Okay, they did name some, the main line, grain shed, the pond. Okay, yeah, we've heard about it, we've seen it, people have visited it and documented it, right? Shows a correlation that, although not favourable, the people that have gone down to those areas from the looks of it, although interpreted by maybe some family members as harming the case, disrupting, disturbing possible important evidence, in the end, those areas where those people were at and criticised for didn't really lead to a negative outcome because Candice and Justin are confident and have ticked those locations off as nothing to see, Dylan isn't here. Okay, so it wasn't that bad in the end, I guess. But I'm just interested about this one spot. I can't do a map analysis of it because I simply don't have the location. There was no description given as well. Is it near here, near there? What direction is it in? It's probably one of the most untalked about areas, wherever it is, right? And considering over time, especially in 2022 when Candice Cooley was more verbal and calling out the LE for the mistakes and incompetence, why did Candice Cooley not call the LE out for not forensically testing the shed or this other spot where the dogs have been at? It would make me think the only reason why Candice Cooley never mentioned it back then was because it never happened then, right? Candice Cooley, sometime in 2023, must have caught onto a certain spot. It took that long. It took a certain length of time and consistency for dogs to then be approved and used out there more often than back in 2022, I would assume, right? Correct me if I'm wrong. I'm just trying to make sense of it, because if Candice Cooley is verbal and she's called the LE out on missed opportunities, evidence being handled improperly, then why was it never talked about the grain shed or this other unknown spot? Why only now? You'd think it's only been mentioned now because it's happened more recent. That's all I can think of. If anyone else can wrap their head around it, feel free to do so. Still possibilities, ahead. Anything could happen, twists and turns. If it's happened back then, it could definitely happen, once again, where it's like a lead of a new person, a name that's been mentioned in the past and come back in onto surface, or a new location. I was hinting upon that at some point you might find the odd bit of evidence which doesn't tie to a direction, but in its own right is unique, an item which may have been used to take Dylan Rounds out as one of the key pieces of evidence which has not been found up to this point. Yeah, guns found here, guns found there, people taken in for that, gun charges relating to Dylan or not, most part of it, if not all of it, separate gun charges, right? But no specific firearm found as a piece of evidence for the crime scene of Dylan Rounds. That has not been found. And sure, is it going to be a firearm or could it be something completely different? Well, it could be something different, but I kind of expect a firearm. One of Brenner's chrome guns has never been found, from what Ty Corbin has said. Anyone add-on from that, or is there any more updates regarding it? I mean, it makes you think if Ty Corbin and Kelly and whoever else came across that cap, which was kind of half buried in the ground. Are they going to find anything else randomly? Are they going to find a discarded chrome gun? Makes you think. Is Brenner the type of person to discard of a weapon? If he likes firearms and he collects them, is he going to be willing to throw one away? Is he willing to do that? I'm not sure. He threw away Dylan's phone, most likely to avoid detection or an attempt to avoid it and to not be tracked in a way. And just dispose of it, to try and destroy the phone and whatever is on it. I get that. But what about a gun? Where would that have ended up if used? Okay? We talk about Dylan's own gun, taken, then returned back. Some people strongly feel that never happened and it never left. Okay. I'm going to ask you one question and it might help. So for all the people that truly believe that Dylan's key fob, Dylan's firearm, you feel that they were never taken away nor returned, that they just remained as they were. If that's the case, I'm just thinking on the spot. It was said that Dylan Rounds would have his firearm in his truck, pickup truck. And what about the key fob? It was said by Candice Cooley Dylan would keep his vehicle unlocked. Okay? But where would he leave the keys? In his camper trailer or in his car? His vehicle? Which one? The gun's in the vehicle, from what Candice Cooley said, but what about the key fob? If the key fob was left in the vehicle, then why was it locked? You get what I'm saying? I mean, it can happen accidental, but if you lock a car, you're holding the keys, right? Whether it be you got to insert the key and twist it, or it's a button one. Most likely these days a button one, right? Normally when you lock a car, you're on the outside. So what I'd be thinking is, because they did say that Dylan's truck, pickup truck, was locked, right? So the person, whoever it was, inside of the pickup truck doing whatever, using it or not, searching for it or actually attempting to drive it, whatever. Shut the door, got out, shut the door, and then locked it. And then the key fob was put into the trailer, right? You get what I'm saying? It must have been used for some reason for it to be on the outside, right? In the trailer. Now, that wasn't my main question, don't worry, I've got a better one. What I would say is, Dylan Rounds, his cleanliness, if that's a word, isn't great. Basic hygiene, I'm not quite sure, but in terms of living conditions, although he wasn't living there in Lucin, Utah in the trailer, he didn't keep it that clean. It was very dirty, it was very messy. Candice Cooley said Dylan would leave food out on the side and not put stuff back, and other food would go out of date, and it'd be a bit of a mess. Dylan's clothing, Dylan's pickup truck, because of being a farmer and in that environment, gets messy, gets mucky, dirty. At one point in the past, Kurt Wadsworth supposedly telling Dylan, hey, you need to clean this and clean that, right? So Dylan's busy. Dylan might not always be focused on certain hygiene because he's focused on farming. Okay. The reason why I say that, and make sure you're listening, from the reports back when supposedly the gun and key fob were returned back to the trailer, there were no prints, no DNA upon those items whatsoever. So my question is, to everyone that thinks the gun and key fob was never used, never taken away, nor ever returned back by the suspect or Brenner? Why were those items cleaned down? Cleaned of any prints of any DNA whatsoever? If Dylan Rounds isn't the type of person to clean things, then why were those items cleaned? You get what I'm saying? The grain truck, when that was tested for DNA, it was said that there was all kinds of DNA upon it. Don Hately, Brenner, Dylan, because different people have used it over time. And if there's too much DNA upon it, it was like ruled out as being suspicious, okay? If Dylan is technically the only one to be in possession of his gun and key fob, why would he clean those items down? It seems to me that if it was down to Dylan Rounds, Dylan would have DNA upon those items because he would have used them, or at least one of the items not that long ago. So his pickup truck, he used it on Thursday, the 26th. Well, no, first of all, he used it 25th of May, his pickup truck. He used it the 26th of May and the 27th of May, right? 3 days in a row using his own pickup truck and using his key fob. 3 days of using the key fob. And then fast forward days after, when eventually Dylan's reported missing, family go down there, check on in. Dylan's pickup locked. Key fob gun supposedly missing short term, then returned back. They check the items, test for DNA, and it's completely clean, clear of DNA. After 3 days previous of using those items, there would have been evidence, prints, DNA left on them from Dylan. And with Dylan being so occupied with farming, especially on the 28th of May, he wouldn't have time to clean items down. Not at all. Why would he clean a key fob? Who cleans a key fob? Unless it gets a bit mucky, right? But still, even when you're cleaning items down, as you're still handling them, you can leave prints behind, right? You get what I'm saying? It does feel like the gun and key fob were taken away by someone else and then returned later, and it was done in a professional way because there were no prints or DNA left on them, right? But there would have been originally. Even if a suspect or Brenner took the gun and key fob whilst wearing gloves, there'd be no prints left on it, those items, right? Taken away, used, and then returned back whilst wearing gloves. No additional DNA prints added onto those items. The family came down to check and then got a hold of those items, found them, tested them for DNA. Sure, it wouldn't show any new activity, any new DNA upon those items, but it would show pre-existing DNA upon them, which would be Dylan Rounds' prints, hands, because he would have been holding them, using the key fob for those 3 days straight, going out to different places, right? So the fact that absolutely no print, absolutely no evidence was found on the key fob and the gun makes you think that someone intentionally cleaned the items down because they didn't want to be traced back to them, whoever's handled those items. You get what I'm saying? Dylan Rounds doesn't seem like the type of person to clean up after himself when he's too busy and occupied with farming. And around that period, he was busy and occupied with farming. Does that make sense to everyone? I'll just summarise it one more time, just so it's not dragged out too much. All I'm saying is, to all those people that feel the gun and key fob was never taken in the first place by anyone, then explain to me why those items had no fingerprints, no DNA upon them. Like, literally, they were cleaned down. Dylan Rounds doesn't look like the type of person to clean those items, right? He's busy with farming. His hygiene, cleanliness in other areas is lacking. So is he really going to pay attention to a key fob? No. The only time when you really clean something down to ensure no prints whatsoever is because you don't want it tracking back to you. And in a case like this, a missing person murder case, you don't want things falling back on you. So it feels like it does lean towards the idea that someone did take those items away. Now, would it be Brenner? Well, let's look at it this way. As I said, Brenner doesn't seem like a genius, but he's kind of done well in hiding Dylan. We talked about the hierarchy of evidence, how it was found and how it was previously handled and where it ended up, right? Some items more important than others, yet handled differently and with lack in care when disposing of them, right? I suggested that maybe Don Hately assisted in maybe cleaning down things, assisting in disposing of some stuff. So that's why there was a bit of a strange pattern between some items being taken care of when cleaning up and other items being a bit recklessly placed about or dumped. You get what I'm saying? That could still be a possibility. But maybe what we do need to acknowledge, Brenner could have well have cleaned the key fob gun down, because as we saw from that 27-second footage at 7:27 AM timestamp on the 28th of May 2022, Brenner was cleaning down a gun and also washing his arms and hands because he had blood on him, as described by Justin Rounds. Why was Brenner doing that? Well, you're going to wash blood off you, right? Because it's kind of a normal thing to do. You don't want blood on you and you want to clean that off so no one gets suspicious, right? What about Brenner's top? Well, that was just left in the trailer. And eventually the police got a hold of it, did the DNA testing from that footage they saw and confirmed it's the same top and the blood upon it links to Dylan. Now, was that shirt blood stained? Why did Brenner not chuck the top away? Why did he not burn it? Why did he not put it in a washing machine? Why just dump it in the trailer? Do you see how reckless that is, leaving a top laying about? I mean, in terms of stupidity, there is a difference between disposing Dylan's phone in the pond and then it being forensically tested afterwards and retrieving that incriminating footage of Brenner with the blood on him cleaning a gun down in the trailer. That is understandable and forgivable in the sense that maybe Brenner was completely unaware of that 27-second clip accidentally recording, maybe because Brenner accidentally started the recording himself and was unaware of it, or if not that and he was aware, maybe he just thought by chucking it in the pond, then that video and the phone, the data would become corrupted and damaged, and that's a way of disposing of evidence. That would be understandable too. But leaving a bloodied top shirt in the trailer when police and family are about, and not making any attempt, even during June the 2nd spring cleaning, no attempt whatsoever to dispose of that top. That is silly. That is really silly. Yet, whatever gun he was cleaning down, was that ever found in that 27-second clip? I don't know. Though, what I'm trying to get at, it did depict and show the action of Brenner cleaning down a gun. If Brenner cleaned down a gun, then could he have cleaned down Dylan's gun as well? Is there any possibility whatsoever that that 27-second clip of Brenner cleaning down a gun was the gun that was returned back to Dylan's trailer? Because they're saying that the gun was cleaned down of any evidence and prints. And if there is a video footage of Brenner cleaning down a firearm, it could be the same one. We've not been told what firearm it is, right? What model, what version? Is there a link between Dylan's firearm being returned to the trailer cleaned of evidence is the same one in that 27-second footage of Brenner cleaning a firearm? Any link whatsoever? We'll do a poll right now. That can literally be the poll. Do you think in that footage of Brenner on Dylan's phone, is that gun being cleaned down the same one that was returned back to Dylan's trailer because it was Dylan's? Yes, no, I don't know. Make sure to vote right now, okay? Anything else? Not really. But in general, the action depiction of Brenner cleaning something down, that could have been applied to the key fob as well. That's what I'm getting at. Hopefully all that makes sense. Obviously we've talked about it in the past, but not in this like angle on this take on things. I think it's very important, okay? So anyone in the chat right now who's a little bit distracted, I advise you to rewind back about 12 minutes ago and make sure to re-listen to what I just said 12 minutes ago. If you weren't listening, make sure to check back now, because it's a very important point and key question to those that doubt the gun and key fob ever being taken away based off one key factor, okay? So, that aside, we can move on to the main topic of this video to do with salty pancakes, okay? Also, kind of off subject, I do have the unique top on. Some of you will be aware and familiar with that and what it's all about. With this instance, because of YouTube being very sensitive and dodgy at this moment in time, we've got to confuse the matrix, right? So by confusing the matrix, keep the camera angle and display as it is, but in the mirrored mode, that when I stand up, the text is reversed, okay? I can't get done for this. No, man. It's reversed. The matrix has been flipped upside down, literally, yeah? Some of you will already know what it is worded as. As for everyone else, you can decode it and read it backwards, okay? Campos, tacos, How's the tacos? Are they okay? Yeah? Good. Snook, snook, snooks. You approve of this? Yeah? Y'all approve of this? And there is the item. Forever etched upon me. Exactly. So, if down the line people do misbehave, act out a little, you know, I'm sure some people will have request for the odd whip, but, you know, good things come to those who wait. So, what we can move on to now, and I'll give a brief backstory. I'll stand like this so you can look at the top, okay? Actually, no, let me just stand a bit differently, because we know a certain somebody has their eyes set on the prize. Isn't that right, watcher? Yeah? So basically, yeah, there we go, we're in shot now. So on Salty Pancakes' Facebook page, it appears he's started a GoFundMe, which was a little different, right? Besides the Cash App, PayPal's, whatever there is out there, you know, the different forms which people use, GoFundMe. The only person to use GoFundMe, I believe, was Lance Kelly. And that was to do with the cadaver dog, you remember? Now, obviously, from Candice Cooley's eyes, she didn't approve of it and thought it was bad. It wasn't a good idea. Many viewers online here and there did say it was a scam, that it's wrong what Lance Kelly is doing. I think Salty Pancakes called Lance out at some point, maybe even Jim Terry, to do with the cadaver dog situation and the GoFundMe. And look where we are right now. Salty Pancakes doing a GoFundMe of himself. Interesting, right? Well, what we can do is just take a brief look on the page of Pancakes, see what it's about, get a better understanding, the context of it, check the GoFundMe too, the figures, the stats, and, you know, you can share your thoughts and react to it in the live chat. As said, we look at it from different angles, perspectives, and different people. We've looked at Lance Kelly with the cadaver dog. Now we can apply it to Pancakes and whatever he's on about and his goal, okay? So, let's go onto the Facebook page first and then follow accordingly from there, okay? Watcher of Crazy. Yes, it's now time to move on. Stop looking and let's move on, Watcher. Here we are on Salty Pancakes page. What I do want to say once again, this is all public, okay? It's all public and in the public eye. We just go through the post one by one just to see what it's all about and then get to the main one, okay? So it seems like recently Salty Pancakes has been referring back to Jim Terry over and over again. I did see somewhere lower down on Pancakes page saying, I'm going to take a break from covering Jim Terry and all the other petty drama. Fast forward to now, still covering Jim Terry. Now, in a way, you can understand why, because it might work for Pancakes. As for people watching and commenting and all of that, right? Once again, almost like another strategy. Then, what was this one about? On Rumble, Jim Terry's big reveal was a big disappointment. So, I assume this is to do with Jim Terry's recent video provided where it was the cop car dash cam footage of Dylan Rounds being pulled over from 2021, Dylan stepping out, being questioned, that one. And Pancakes is saying it was a big disappointment, it was overhyped. Now, in my opinion, was the footage Jim Terry provided of Dylan Rounds a big disappointment? I would say, in my opinion, no. It wasn't a big disappointment because I wasn't expecting much to begin with. Okay? I think, though, to some people out there, it was a big disappointment. But to me, it wasn't. I wasn't expecting it to be groundbreaking. I wasn't expecting it to lead to Dylan Rounds being found on that basis. So because I kept it controlled, it didn't impact me negatively. Okay? Let me know your thoughts, though, in the chat. Was Jim Terry's big reveal a big disappointment? Yes or no? Let's do it in a poll. Yes, big disappointment. No, it was fantastic. It was amazing. Or it was okay. Comsy comsa. Okay? What else do we have? Salty, live with Kurt Wadsworth. Plans to search locations. Replay from past live stream. Is that what it says on all of them? No. I assume this is an old one, but re-uploaded. Correct me if I'm wrong. If it was a new live stream interview with Kurt Wadsworth, I'm surprised because I'm sure Pancakes called out Kurt Wadsworth over and over not long ago. I think the same happened with a person called Steve Olson, a person that lives in Montello. I'm sure I've heard that name before. Did Pancakes go down there, visit him, and then what, afterwards called him out? Is that stabbing in the back, or was it for a good reason? I personally don't know because I don't know the full story. But if anyone is present and wants to fill in the gaps, you can. It's welcome, okay? Once again, just want to say, welcome to anyone who's joined right now or watching in the background. If you'd like to rewind back to the beginning to hear about the Dylan Rounds discussion, some very important points, make sure to do so. What we're currently looking at now is the latest activity of Salty Pancakes and what's going ahead in the future, which could be kind of similar in terms of the concept with what Lance Kelly has previously done. So make sure to stick around and we can get to the bottom of it possibly. What's this? Going over emails from Irish Rose. Don't know who that person is. What else do we have? Who is the mystery female in Jim's live stream? Referring to Jim Terry. Now, one thing I do need to say most recently, it does get a little bit confusing at times. So do you know like how you got Jim Brenner? Jim Brenner, also known as James Brenner. That's what people normally officially call him as. Then you got Jim Terry. Two different people, but as for the first names are the same. So sometimes in the chat when people say Jim went here, Jim said this, Jim said that, I'm not always sure if people are talking about Jim Terry or Jim Brenner. Gets a little bit confusing. So what I tend to do is say Jim Brenner or just Brenner, and that's it. Does that make sense? If you are referring to Jim Terry in the chat, either say Jim Terry or say JT. It's just a lot easier, you know, these abbreviations or, you know, extended names, just so we know who you're referring to. But this one, who is the mystery female in live streams? I have no clue. What else? A short story about a guy named Jim Terry. So it looks like Pancakes has been very consistent and back-to-back with coverage about Jim Terry, both on saltycrewlocals.com, whatever that is, and on Rumble as well. Okay. Another link there, Jim Terry. And here we go, GoFundMe. So it appears to be a link as well as a caption. Let's read the caption first. This was posted by Salty Pancakes 23 hours ago. What's this one? Link broken. Well, that's exactly what we want. I just want to click on the more section. Will it not let me click on it? So strangely, I wasn't able to click on the more section. It let me click it once. It extended the rest of the text. But then, do you know where it says more? That one there, more. Clicking on it, it kept saying link is broken. And I'm like, what? Now, there was originally more text down below, but it's not letting me view it. I actually refreshed the screen just before, and guess what? This entire post was deleted. Salty Pancakes must have deleted it. But why? Why delete this? That's what I want to know. Anyway, we will read it. And don't worry, that GoFundMe page is still there to look at. So, you know, don't go anywhere. Pancake says, "Dear beloved supporters, I'm writing this letter with an overwhelming sense of gratitude and admiration for each and every one of you. Your unwavering belief in the power of helping others has touched my heart deeply, and I want to express my sincerest thanks for your incredible support. Your unwavering commitment to making a positive difference in the lives of those who are missing is truly awe-inspiring. Your belief in the inherent goodness of humanity and the potential for change is a beacon of hope in a sometimes chaotic world. Your actions have demonstrated that compassion, empathy, and generosity can create a ripple effect that transforms lives," and whatever. Right, I know there'll be a few people in the chat right now saying, "Get me the sick bucket. I've got motion sickness once again." Don't worry, I've got some exclusive WarLike Wrath towels to dab up all the substances. Perfectly fine, but if you do need to use them, you might have to become a member, you know. Oh my God. Anyway, where do we go from here? You know, when reading this, it sounds like Pancakes is talking deep from within the heart. Pancakes is expressing his emotions. Okay? Bit of a lisp there, but I know Watcher really likes that. I mean, just let me know your thoughts in the chat. When you read this, do you believe that's what Pancakes actually means? Or is he lying? Is he actually being positive, or is it a ploy? Let me know your thoughts. When I look at this, I'd say, to be honest, it could be genuine. It could be at a time when Pancakes isn't having a meltdown, so he is talking normally. fair enough. I just want to know, why was this post deleted from his Facebook account? Is there a reason for it? Maybe it could be an error by YouTube. It could pop back up again later, but it says the link is broken, and refreshing it, the post has completely disappeared. On screen is like a screenshot of it just before it did disappear, so that was close timing. But the way it's worded there, all the helping and supporting one another, does that include doxing people? Or supposedly doxing people, from what others have said? That's all I'll say. This is what I mean. I can't really say much here. I can say a bit, but I can imagine people watching right now and those in the live chat will be reading this and thinking, that is so hypocritical. Let me know if that's what you agree with. I just sense that's what people are going to be thinking when they read this from what Pancakes has said. What I would say is, this whole overwhelming sense of admiration, deep-hearted, sincerest thanks, all the incredible support. You could acknowledge that because people have, gave many super chats to Pancakes over time, so that's a level of support and sticking with him, even if they are yes men, sticking with him to the end and going on to different channels. Yeah, internally, maybe that can apply there. But what about the outwards behaviour and response, unwavering commitment to make positive differences in the lives of those who are missing? Has it led to Dylan Rounds being found? No. Has it led to possible misinformation over time by allowing people onto shows that spread rumours and cause a bit of disruption at times? Yeah. I don't think it has had a positive effect on the Dylan Rounds case. The only reason why some things have been cleaned up with time is because of my videos. Yeah, Dylan hasn't been found, but one of the key things is, besides trying to keep the case alive, it's also about tying up loose ends, making sense of events which were talked about in the past, debunking them or reinforcing them. That's what I have done, and we have come to some conclusions with time and been somewhat successful, but not delusionally successful, right? I'm not here saying, wow, I have fixed everything. Okay, I might have fixed, Watch Your Crazy's lawnmower, but, as for Dylan Rounds' case, made a bit more sense of it, a slightly better understanding now. And with time, when people come into this case to look at it and research, they look back at my previous videos, it might help them understand what's going on, what's true, what's false, what's still in question. Though, other channels out there that might do long live streams and call-ins, talks, interviews, it just doesn't always go to plan. People over-talking one another, some people being kicked, others being blocked, some being raided, information being mixed up with misinformation, rumours, overshadowing everything. That's what's happened. Did it happen with Pancakes' channel? I guess so. The one thing to acknowledge from Pancakes, at least from my opinion, is him going down there and documenting the place and recording it. That was good of him. It provided a good perspective in the early days. I acknowledge that. Pancakes was okay in the early days. Wasn't that problematic. He was a bit defensive at first when he wondered why I was looking at his comment section. That didn't go too well, but after that, it was okay. But then, with time, it just started going wrong. The pillars started collapsing. And that does not apply just to Pancakes. It can apply to others out there as well. But seeing the downfall was unfortunate, but it did happen. Okay? But yeah, this whole positive difference in missing people cases, humanity, actions demonstrated, compassion, empathy, generosity. And then you've got viewers out there who have come into my chat saying that those pancake people, the potato pickers, or the viewers were harassing or doxing or bullying or going after one another. I mean, What I will say is it definitely seems to be back and forth from both sides, not just one, okay? Who started it exactly? I don't know. Who's the one defending themselves with retaliation? I don't know. But it is a bit back and forth, like ping pong, okay? But yeah, when people have reached out to me or in the chat, in the comments, they've not, they said they've been treated badly by Pancake viewers. That's what some people have said. Those who have deferred from Pancake's channel membership, saying that they've been kicked out, ousted, alienated, just because they think differently and it's gone wrong for them. Now, that doesn't apply to everyone. Just Eddie has had okay experience with Pancakes, but not everyone. People seem to have their own unique encounters, and it's not always for the right, good reasons, like this time round. So, anyone in chat right now, just let me know your thoughts of this post on here, okay? So what we will do, though, is follow through with that link and see what the GoFundMe is about and the caption and story behind it. Here is the GoFundMe website. You see like some banner art design there, Garuda, whatever that means, real-time search analysis. You see a picture of a drone there, a person maybe with a VR headset or something. Can interpret where this is going, the use of equipment to help search for missing people out there. Help save lives from above. Okay, so it does seem to be saving people, finding missing ones out there with the use of drone equipment. Okay, same has been done with Dylan Rounds and, other people over time. It says $375 raised of the $10,000 target. 6 donations so far. So Pancakes, from the looks of it, does it give a backstory? Michael Lee is organising this fundraiser. Who is Michael Lee? Well, it's been announced public already in the past, so nothing to hide there. Michael Lee is also known as Salty Pancakes. Same person, okay? Salty Pancakes did acknowledge that in his videos on YouTube at the time, public, okay? Just want to confirm that. Michael Lee is Salty Pancakes. And Salty Pancakes has organised this fundraiser. Salty Pancakes wants $10,000 to be raised for the usage of equipment, I believe, to help look for missing people. Now, I don't know how people are going to react to this, because in terms of the concept up to now, it seems similar to Lance Kelly, Earthworm Infotainment, wanting to raise $10,000 for a cadaver dog. So before we go any further, if people were calling out Lance Kelly for whatever reason then, I expect those people to be calling out Salty Pancakes here too. Though, what I do want to acknowledge, once we start reading into the captions, the story behind it, maybe opinions will change and that could be more understandable, okay? But first of all, we need to read that backstory behind why this fundraiser has been set up by Salty Pancakes, okay? Feel free to react in the chat as we do go along. 1 day ago, volunteer, right. Empowering drone search and rescue. Hello, amazing supporters. My name is Mike Lee, and I am passionate about utilising drone technology to make a positive impact in emergency situations. I'm reaching out to you today to humbly request your support in helping me become a drone search and rescue volunteer. Interesting. So Lance Kelly wanted to become some kind of volunteer too, but with cadaver dogs, and needed $10,000 to be able to afford one, and maybe a bit extra too. And people criticised that. I think Pancakes criticised it as well. criticising Lance Kelly for wanting to raise that money to then look for missing people with the use of the proceeds raised to use a cadaver dog to get into that line of field. Does it apply here now? That Pancakes wants to raise that amount of money? Is that amount of money going to be used for the drone and/or the training? We'll see. The mission. Read more. Will it let me? There we go. The mission is drones have revolutionized search and rescue operations, offering unmatched aerial capabilities that can save valuable time and, most importantly, lives. By joining a reputable search and rescue organization, I'll contribute to locating missing persons, aiding in disaster response efforts, and providing critical assistance to communities is needed. Okay. Drones. Joining search and rescue organization, aiding in disaster response efforts. Does Salty Pancakes seem like the type of person to do that sort of stuff? I don't know. You know, background, landscaping or something. Then YouTube, going about asking questions, trying to find a missing person, but not really finding the missing person, but possibly causing a bit of disruption to the case in a way. Basically, has Salty Pancakes been blessed by Tyler Feller, thinking in a new light, a different direction and path, improving as a person, making up for lost time and mistakes made back then? Maybe. I don't know. Just let me know your thoughts down below. Your contribution. Pancake says, becoming a drone search and rescue volunteer requires a significant investment in training, equipment, and certifications. With your generous donations of $10,000, we can achieve the following goals. Drone training and certification. Attaining professional grade certifications and specialized training is essential for me to operate effectively and safely during rescue missions. Your support will help cover the cost of courses, workshops, and hands-on training sessions. High-end quality equipment. To perform at the highest level, I need reliable, cutting-edge drone equipment capable of withstanding various weather conditions and capturing high-resolution imagery. Your donations will enable me to acquire necessary drones, cameras, batteries, and other accessories. Hold on. $10,000 is going to cover all of that. Then ask me, maybe there's an explanation if you can add it in, but why is it Duty Ron, you remember Duty Ron, raised about $14,000 to afford a full spectral drone for Texas EquuSearch to use in assisting and trying to find Dylan Round's remains. $14,000 for a drone can be expensive. And yet Pancakes only needs $10,000 for a drone, all the training, the equipment and the certification and the workshops. Is that possible? Is that really possible? I mean, yeah, drones can be very, very cheap, but there's a reason for it. If you need a proper drone, especially for this type of training and getting into it, then won't it cost more than $10,000? But, you know, you'd think Pancakes knows better. That's why he's asking for $10,000, because he knows what it can cover, and that's why he's listing it here. Let's continue. Insurance and licensing. Insurance coverage and licensing are crucial for operating legally and responsibly. By contributing to this campaign, you are supporting the acquisition of appropriate insurance policies and licenses required for participation in search and rescue operations. Maintenance and upkeep. Regular maintenance and upgrades are essential to ensure the drones are in optimal condition for every mission. Your contributions will help over maintenance cost, software updates, and necessary repairs. guaranteeing the reliability of the equipment. Outreach and awareness. Spreading awareness about the potential of drone technology in search and rescue operations is vital. Your support will help me organise workshops, public demonstrations, and educational events to showcase the capabilities of drones in saving lives and encouraging others to get involved. So is Pancakes going to do a TEDx talk at some point? Impact. Your donation will go beyond supporting my personal journey. It will directly impact the lives of individuals in distress. By leveraging drone technology, we can significantly reduce search times, increase efficiency, and enhance the chances of successful rescues. Together, we can be the difference that brings loved ones back home. Join me in this noble cause as we empower communities, strengthen disaster response efforts, and provide a ray of hope for those in dire situations. No amount is too small, and every contribution is deeply appreciated. Steps taken: remote pilot certification, flight proficiency certification, level 1 and 2, thermography certification, 16-hour course certification. Thank you. Words cannot express the gratitude I feel for your support in making this dream becoming a drone search and rescue volunteer a reality. Together we can make a remarkable impact and save lives from above. Your generosity will forever be remembered as a beacon of hope in times of crisis. Please consider donating and sharing this campaign with your network. Together, let's soar to new heights and make a lasting difference. Mike Lee. About drone. Oh God, he's got more here. Calm down, Mike. You're typing more than the Shack lady. Wear my voice out and give me a dry throat. Anyway, let's carry on. About drone search and rescue teams. Actually, do we need to read this, to be honest? Not really. We don't need to read it because it's just like a backstory behind the drones and what they're used for. And I think with common sense, we can all agree that drones are a form and a practical way of looking for missing people without disturbing the ground below. It's efficient, time effective. If it has its own camera, of course, very good. And obviously with drones, you get the really high-end ones, military, which most likely aren't accessible because it's the thing. Yeah, you got the little drones with little controllers, and you got the full-size drones which were used to take out Ayman al-Zawahiri. Okay, Ayman al-Zawahiri, which was the leader post-2011 of Al-Qaeda. And that happened about 9 to 10 months ago when a drone deployed some kind of missile but non-explosive which had blades upon the missile, and it could penetrate through the home of al-Zawahiri and chop him up with blades without any explosion. Okay? So you get that to that extreme, cruise missiles from a drone strike. And then you get the smaller drones, which could still be restricted, right? And then you get the other drones, which was once restricted but no longer, which like Heavy D referred to, the full spectral drone, right? That one. You get some mid-range ones as well, and you get the really basic ones which people might get for Christmas, okay, younger people. So there's different levels, different tiers, different pieces of equipment, right? And it looks like Pancakes needs a certain one to be able to do his training and get on with things and learn and move forwards in that direction. Okay? Let me know your thoughts down below in the chat. Do you think all of this is genuine? Do you think this GoFundMe, that the $10,000 target, if met and raised successfully, will it go into what's been listed down below? Certification, the training process, the equipment, the insurance. Let me know what you think, okay? And will it reach that target? There's a fair chance. Salty Pancakes does have, arguably, some kind of loyal fan base, which have followed him onto Rumble, like Kathy Waters, 28 Alice, Kay Lee, and then many others, I guess. Just let me know your thoughts to what you think about this, okay? So, although that GoFundMe, which has been set up by Salty Pancakes so he can get into that line of field to be like some kind of drone operator and also assist with search and rescue and go through that formal procedure professionally and formally, right? Unlike maybe, as some would call, Lance Kelly, who's doing it more recklessly. This isn't linked with Dylan Rounds or even Aidan Clune specific, okay? But I do feel that Pancakes would have been influenced by looking into these cases, how they've gone, how it's been poorly handled at times, and then how some equipment has come out of it and appeared quite practical and useful, like the full spectral drone in the Dylan Rounds case. I'm sure Pancakes may have seen that and then was influenced in a positive way in that direction, wanting to follow in those footsteps in a way. So, although Lance Kelly is doing it directly, or mainly for Dylan Rounds and /or Aidan Clune, the fundraiser, the Cadaver Dog, which has, I guess, already happened, right? But people still call Lance Kelly out. What do you think of Pancakes? What he's doing? What I would say, just being honest, because how I've seen Pancakes, how he messes about, how he can be sarcastic at times, a little bit petty. Sometimes he has whinged and whined a little bit. Been a bit defensive, a bit resistant at times, snapping unnecessarily, calling some people out left, right and centre, false accusations, possible slander, okay? You know the certain accusations towards me, even aimed at the Shack Lady, even though the Shack Lady listens to Pancakes, which I don't quite follow, and then some other stuff in between. When I take that all into mind, I can't interpret Pancakes in a serious way. And that's just being honest. And that can apply to Jim Terry too. I can't take them really seriously because all the messing about in between and certain behaviours, right? It's just hard to believe them being serious. But maybe they are very capable, okay? I'm just giving my opinion. Now, understandable, it can work the other way. There could be people out there that look at me and think, WarLike Wrath, who is that idiot in the pink shirt with his belt buckle collection or something? What's he doing to himself? What an idiot, what a prat. People will think that, that's okay. Though, at least what I try and do, aside from the light-hearted stuff, which does seem to help some people with time, it's like split down the middle between being focused and serious and strict, like now, and then splitting it down the middle to something a bit more light-hearted. You notice the change, you notice the switch when it does happen. Other channels, though, kind of really mix it and mash it in between serious talk, messing about, few bad actions or whatever going on, and it tarnishes the original point, the original topic. You get what I'm saying? I mean, like Doug from No Thanks. When he's done interviews with Candice Cooley, there's been a flow, a structure to it. The odd little joke made, but the on topic, talking about the case of Dylan. When Doug has talked about Dylan Rounds, done some kind of live stream, but not interviewing Candice Cooley, it's been a bit more loose and a bit more, the flow isn't there. It's a bit like mix and match. You get what I'm saying? I guess the same could apply to Jim Terry's channel. Jim Terry has his own format, unique structure. It works like based off what people say, right? And stats. So in terms of the Dylan Round discussion, it seems to come and go within the videos. It's mentioned a little bit here at the start, then it's mentioned a bit later on, then it's mentioned a bit more at the very end. It doesn't follow a flow. That's what these channels out there on YouTube or further afar fail to do, right? Either my videos are, we're talking about the case, or we're talking about the case, and now we're stopping. Now we're transitioning on to the next talking point. You get me? You see the flow. It's there. What all these other channels do is mix it and what do you call it? Mix and match so much. Sorry, I'm having a bit of a Salty Pancakes stuttery moment. Let me just recalibrate my voice.
Yeah, I just I don't know what these conspiracies are. I want to become a drone pilot, but can I really guide some kind of drone? I don't know.
Okay. That has fixed me. My voice is now calibrated. But I have turned into a tomato all of a sudden. I don't know what's going on there. Weezer, don't start planting me in the ground. But yeah, what I'm saying is, end of the day, there is a level of focus here, okay? And when there isn't focus, it's clearly identifiable. It's like a section here about this, then a section there about that. The other channels are a bit of this, bit of that, bit of this, bit of that, bit of this, bit of that, and to try and refer back to it or listen to it, it's a bit all over the place. It's not quite good, okay? And to be honest, these channels out there behave how they do, but their idiosyncratic, bombastic ways don't always complement the case, okay? There is that. Anyway, that aside, what I do want to highlight, and feel free to still talk about that Salty Pancakes GoFundMe fundraiser thing. Does it compare to Lance Kelly or is it better? Let me know. But what I want to do is refer back to what I said at the start of this video about some serious false assumptions about WarLike Wrath, okay? Now, it's just like some random comment or two, but there's no harm in taking a look at it, see what it's all about, share it publicly, document it. As said, like with all the other stuff, we document the comments and the people's responses. Simple as that. So I'll read it, analyse if necessary. Make sure to stick around. Let's head on over right now. Here we are. This was a Dylan Rounds video I uploaded 2 weeks ago, but there are a few comments recently. Just to answer this one, Cindy saying, curious, how much money did Doug make off the Dylan Rounds case? I have no clue. I'm sure Jim Terry will know because I'm sure he brought up some figures in the past. But yeah, I can't answer it because I don't know. But that aside, look, Catherine. We've got Catherine here. There you go. That is Catherine. She doesn't seem too pleased. What did she say? Unsubscribed. You are so far off in this case. It's ridiculous. Well, Catherine, you've unsubscribed from my channel. I think you need to resubscribe to the Alphabet Learning Club in the US because you can't spell. That's not good. Okay? What else? You've done a lot of work on this case, and being someone who has known Dylan since grade school. Ah, it's this person. I remember them now. Yeah. Now, people in the chat, which way would you prefer it? Would you rather look at the past comment, the positive one, or look at the negative ones right now with the false assumptions about me? Let me know your thoughts. What do we have here? Catherine S. Not many videos on the channel. Eric and his accordion. I think he needs to tune it a little bit. It's a bit off. Shorts, nothing. Playlist, nothing. Channels, nothing. About section. Joined 21st of April 2013. So there's Catherine. Profile picture. You'd assume it's her. Okay, fair enough. Right. So the comments there, which we'll get to in a second. But let's just take a look at that bottom one when she appears to have been positive, okay? Here we go. So we've travelled back a little bit further. This is from 6 months ago. 6 months ago, Catherine. Let's see what she had to say back then. Catherine says, you've done a lot of work on this case, and being someone who has known Dylan since grade school and knows his and his mother, I really appreciate you keeping his case interesting and in people's minds. You're not always on point, in my opinion, but your efforts are appreciated. So that seems pretty positive, right? Catherine, 6 months ago, acknowledged my coverage on the case. even know she was commenting on a video to do with Gorilla Jack and being threatened by a banana and whip. Yeah, we're going to start seeing the inconsistencies, aren't we? Yeah? Talk about acknowledging me for covering the case and keeping it alive, but also commenting on a video which is a little bit more lighthearted in a certain aspect area. Or at least the thumbnail itself is. Yeah, a little bit inconsistent there. But Catherine is saying that she knew of Dylan from the past, since grade school, and knows Dylan's mother. Right, okay. Has Catherine been in contact with Candice Cooley ever since? I have no clue. But now, let's fast travel back to present day. Catherine here, 6 months ago. You're doing well. I don't agree with everything you say, but your efforts are much appreciated. So that's really good of Catherine to say. What does she say now, 6 hours ago? Are you planning to write a book about Dylan's case? That would be really sick. I think you've got plans to try and profit from a young man's death whom you never met, and that's messed up. That's my thoughts and reaction. Oh, okay, Catherine. Thank you. So Catherine appreciates my work and coverage on the case and keeping it alive for that long. And now she's calling me saying, what is your obsession with Dylan's case? Money from YouTube? Why would you even post anything that would tarnish Dylan's legacy? The young man is dead. Let him be remembered for his finest qualities. I knew him. He was exactly what he's been portrayed as. He was quiet and kind of shy, but funny and warm once he got to know you. You are doing nothing positive for Dylan's legacy or his case. Not Habe. You spell that wrong. You've done anything helpful to find him. I've heard you make snide remarks about Candice. She's doing everything she can to make sure her son's killer is convicted and she can be bring home Dylan's body. No one is perfect. No one's focusing on anything that could tarnish Dylan's legacy, as you put it, except maybe you and that slimy PI. I mean, in over 300 videos, you've done nothing. You seem like a stalker at this point. Be helpful or just shut up. And no, I didn't watch the video. It sent it up in my feed and the title was enough to set me off. I unsubscribed a long time ago. Don't forget, this is still raw and fresh to those that knew Dylan. You're not helping. You have not cracked the case. You have not found his body. Just stop already. Right. Everybody in the chat right now, I don't care what you're doing or what you're saying, everyone in the chat right now, focus and let me know your thoughts on this response by Catherine. What I do want to acknowledge from Catherine is she makes it very clear that she's not been watching my videos actively in recent time. And the only reason why she commented on this recent video or so, because it appeared in her feed, because I guess she's been looking at the Dylan Rounds case in general. So she's basically saying that my video 2 weeks ago triggered her, and she's giving her response right now because she's annoyed with my coverage. Catherine is comparing me to Jim Terry. Let that sink in, audience. Catherine is saying I'm like Jim Terry. I think even Jim Terry would take that as an insult, me being compared to him. But that aside, am I Jim Terry? Am I like Jim Terry? Let me know your thoughts in the chat. What I do want to say is, very interesting how Catherine acknowledged my relentless coverage of the Dylan Rounds case in the past 6 months ago, keeping it alive. Catherine was basically saying, your constant coverage and consistency is helpful and much appreciated. Fast forward many, many months on, Catherine is saying, how could you be covering this case with all these 300 videos? I can't believe you are still making videos. Why are you making so many videos? Oh, are you doing it for this? Are you doing it for that? So Catherine praises me for consistently covering the case and also tells me off like a naughty boy for continuing the case. That is very, very, what would I call it? Double standards, in a way. Bit hypocritical. Bit two-faced. Yeah. Yeah. Now, this is the thing. As said, besides you, Catherine, who seems to have a bit of a broom shoved somewhere, which is causing a bit of a whingy voice, there have been other people out there internally within the case that have acknowledged my coverage on the Dylan Rounds case, including those who are in contact with Candice Cooley. Catherine, okay? Catherine, are you related to Kathy Waters? Probably not, but just a bit light-hearted that, just in case anyone misunderstands. But yeah, no, seriously, there have been people within the case that have acknowledged my coverage, and they are also connected with the family here and there. Okay? Now, Catherine, whingy whiner, you're going about this, you're going about that. What's that on your channel? You got no contribution, no coverage, nothing whatsoever in terms of Dylan Rounds or keeping the case alive or spreading awareness. Zero contribution on YouTube. And yet here you are and just literally complaining, whinging and whining. So basically, in the mindset of Catherine, it's okay to cover the Dylan Rounds case up to a certain point, but then when you go past that, despite talking about relevant, important information, oh, you're deemed as a very bad individual. Yeah, it's a bit silly, that. As well, talking about how no help has been done. No good has come out of it. That's what Catherine is saying. You've not found Dylan. You've not done anything. You've not made any progress. Catherine, you are aware I have single-handedly kept this case alive on YouTube whilst all the other YouTubers have moved away, the last Centurion standing. Catherine, you are aware that I've been able to make sense and tie up loose ends by the mess caused by other YouTubers out there. Catherine, you are aware that I have been able to clearly document and spread awareness of some of Candice Cooley's posts and fundraisers out there. Catherine, you are aware, whilst I may have critiqued Candice Cooley, I also provided different points of views in acknowledgement that the reason why Candice Cooley could be this way is because of the stresses and things going on in the background. Clearly, Catherine, commenting on a 2-week-old video, you're not quite up to date on things, okay? And sure, you don't watch my videos anymore. If you haven't watched my videos for that length of time, Catherine, then you shouldn't be leaving comments like this when you haven't looked at all my other videos, which provide context and understanding to the case from Candice Cooley's point of view, Justin Round's point of view, and much more, right? You say that, I'm not doing this, I'm not doing that, I'm not doing it right, I'm not really getting anywhere. Well, Catherine, besides you struggling to spell and piece words together correctly at times, you got zero contribution on your channel, zero contribution to the case, at least on the YouTube platform, and yet here you are talking, saying, do this, do that, don't do this, walk away, stop now. Am I your dog, Catherine? Did you put a dog lead around me? No, I don't think so. If Candice Cooley, if Justin Rounds showed a form of resistance, genuine resistance, then there'd be an understanding. That has not happened. Okay? The main aim is keeping this case alive, making sense of things that don't make sense, tying up loose ends, right? Thinking outside of the box when things have gone quiet. Okay? It's very simple. Anything else to mention here? You've not cracked the case. I've not cracked the case, but I did crack the location of that hidden wash, mainly by myself single-handedly, and I'm not even from the country. The fact, Catherine, that I know more about the area than some of the locals do, and people from the US, that really says a lot, doesn't it, Catherine? Anything else? Funny and warm once you got to know. So, I've talked about Dylan. You know, I've covered it from some of the Montello local points of views, saying how Dylan was quiet, not that talkative, but didn't cause any trouble. We've mentioned that. And then we've also mentioned it from the other side as well, maybe a few little critiques and negative points. But that was all done to maintain balance. Because from the looks of it, Catherine, you don't have balance, right? If I've questioned Candice Cooley, I've also questioned Justin Rounds at a point. I've questioned Lance Kelly. I've questioned Jim Terry. I've questioned Pancakes. I've questioned myself. Well, maybe when it comes to the whips, but that aside, there's a level of balance because of questioning, not selective. Maybe other people are. That could be the downfall. Anything else? She's doing everything she can. Maybe, yeah. I've acknowledged that. There's a lot of text here. There's a lot of talk. There's a lot of whining, right? A lot of whining. And what's this final one? Catherine, are you planning to write a book about Dylan's case? That would be really sick. At what stage did you think, Catherine, I'm going to be writing a book? I've never written a book, right? When's the last time I read a book? I don't know. Does that say a lot about me? I don't know. I see no need in writing a book about Dylan Rounds. I don't want to write a book about Dylan Rounds. I can't be bothered to write a book about Dylan Rounds. I've already covered it enough on YouTube, right? Why do we need to keep going round and round in circles? A level of consistency and focus, yes, but a book is overkill. No pun intended there. And as well, a book. Why? Why a book? What, to spread awareness about it? Well, awareness is on YouTube, which is arguably more viewable and accessible, and, you know, people will look into it better. Yeah. So, to be honest, when you've got an individual like this in general, a person called Catherine who supports and acknowledges you in the early days and then switches and changes in behaviour, acting out a little bit, over emotional. Catherine saying that she knew Dylan Rounds and the mother. Well, of course, Catherine is going to be defensive if she knows Dylan well and Candice Cooley. This is the thing, biasness. Catherine, I just don't think you grasp the idea, Catherine. I think you've severely failed to understand the concept and foundations of all this. When it comes to covering a case, Catherine, hopefully you understand this and you make notes down on paper or whatever you have, tissue paper, whatever, bless you. But the concept in covering a case, even spreading awareness and maybe questioning here and there and thinking outside of the box, isn't to be selective. If you're selective, the level of biasness, and then if that's the case, then you can rule out certain individuals out there who could have a story to tell aside of it within the case. Start alienating people, you miss out on possible important information, right? And as well, trust, levels of trust, credibility can be thrown out the window if you end up ignoring certain people, ignoring certain things. You maintain such a level of balance, which can be hard at times, and you listen to everyone, then you can make sense of the situations better, more clearly, without getting too confused as well. But Catherine, because obviously you know about Dylan and Candice Cooley, you're going to be very supportive of them, which is understandable. But as a critique, there's a level of biasness there, not seeing it from the other side, from the perspective of someone on the outside looking in. So, as you're doing all the talking, it's very unnecessary and arguably a waste of time. And for you, Catherine, to come out with these assumptions that I'm planning to write a book, which is very false and will not happen. I could say to you, Catherine, that you're like Salty Pancakes. You know, you're saying that I'm like Jim Terry. Well, I think, Catherine, you're like Salty Pancakes, coming out with all these conspiracies and false accusations about this and that happening. Yeah. See? Very two-faced. Very typical behaviour from humans. And this, Catherine, you're an example of it. Okay? So a quick rundown summary, if people weren't listening, make sure to focus right now. Catherine, dead end channel, check. Zero contribution to the case on YouTube, check. Whingy, whiny voice and tone when talking or texting, check. Change in behaviour over time, check. Jumping the gun, making false assumptions and a bit of slander, check. These are all levels and stages in behavioural shifts and changes overall I've seen, okay? This is just yet another example. It doesn't surprise me. To be honest, Catherine's behavioural changes are like shifts in the Earth's tectonic plates grinding together, creating unnecessary noises. It's not necessary, not needed, we don't need to hear it, okay? So, levels of hypocrisy, levels of biasness, it's not looking good on Catherine's record when it comes to this YouTube talk. So I think we can leave those discussions there for now. Will Catherine get any more videos recommended to her about this? She might. Will she report them? She could. Will she reach out to family members or whoever out there? Maybe. I don't know. But all I will say is, Catherine, you're going to take the channel down, you silence the Dylan Rounds case. Is that what you want? Not only that, but Aidan Clune. You silence Aidan Clune from being found. Not only that, but Kenny Veach. Critical information and coverage there and material suggesting, proving he's alive. You silence me, you silence all those missing people out there. If you really want those people found, is this the best course of action? I don't think so. I don't. Anyway, all in all, aside from all that, hopefully this video was of interest to you. Does it need awareness, this video? It's up to you, end of the day. Feel free to like the video, it'll be appreciated. Let me know your thoughts about the GoFundMe. Let me know your thoughts about that individual at the end of this video, okay? Leave additional comments down below if you do have grievances or if you've got questions, and I'll try to answer them. As for the custom emojis, I will try and start working on them at some point, okay? Some unique ones, and yeah. But for now, I think we'll leave it there. Thanks for watching, thanks for being patient, and I'll see you next time. Goodbye and good night.